address an important problem that you wish to solve or discuss or argue about, and then perhaps pose some method for how you're going to do this. The problem solution paper needs to establish the fact that there is in fact a problem, and to identify the problem and its importance and its causes, and then what you plan to do about it. So we're going to discuss certain aspects of the problem solution paper. We're going to look at a formal publication, but the ideas that we discuss here are applicable in any of these kinds of papers, whether you're writing an argument paper, a dissertation proposal, or a research paper, or any other form of academic writing. So this is a paper that I actually wrote about reporting verbs. And if you look at the first sentence, the appropriate choice of a reporting verb in a citation of one's own claims or the claims of others has been increasingly viewed as an important part of establishing the credibility of such claims. So the first thing I do in the paper is exactly what the problem to address. The appropriate choice of reporting verb, and then why the problem is of importance.
That's here, it's increasingly viewed as an important part of establishing the credibility of such claims. So I specify the problem, and then I evaluate its significance. In the next few sentences, a variety of citations that support my view that this is an important problem, and at the same time elaborate in more detail about the nature of such problems. But the first paragraph of this paper really addressed to orientating the reader to what the rest of the paper is going to be about, and establishing the importance of what I'm writing about. Throughout the introduction, I want to outline some of the important research that has already occurred that is directly or indirectly related to this problem. Now, sometimes I've seen students feel that if there's no research on the topic, that's better because then they can do research. However, it's more likely in an academic context that if there's been a lot of research on the topic, if you can somehow extend that research and show what's missing from that research, then that would make a stronger case for addressing the problem. So in the next section, I cite a few well-known researchers who have indirectly dealt with the problem of the importance of choosing a reporting verb. Now, before I discuss more specifically about the nature of the problem, I want to present a little diagram that may help understand what we're doing. So what is a problem? Well, a problem in academic writing is the same as a problem in any situation. There's the current state that you're in, and then there's your goal. So if your goal is to buy a car, and the current state is you don't have enough money, then what we call as the gap is the difference between that current state. So what you're going to need to do if you want to buy a car is figure out a way of getting enough money to pay for the car. Well, the same thing is true in an academic paper. Now, sometimes the goals are stated explicitly, this is the goal, but sometimes they're stated in a more negative way. For example, here in the first sentence, I write, Hyland, however, has argued that one of the problems that native speakers have in the citation of claims is that they feel they must take a definite and assured position with no hint of fuzziness. Now, that's the current state of the problem. Therefore, the goal, even though I may not explicitly state the goal, is that
writers need to take a variety of stances, not always clear cut, sometimes more fuzzy in Hyland's terms, toward the claims that they're making, and therefore it is important to choose the most appropriate reporting verb in order to express this preciseness of that position. Another thing that I need to do in establishing the problem is to establish the causes of the problem, which in fact will show the criteria that I will use for solving the problem. Now, there's no specific order for all of these steps. They may come in any particular order, although usually the first step that we discuss comes first. But here I'm going to talk about what is the cause of the problem. So taking the appropriate stance towards a claim, therefore, can be a complicated process. Non-native speakers of English often find it difficult to choose among the wide variety of reporting verbs that satisfy both the syntactic requirements of the sentences and, more importantly, to express their attitudes toward a claim. So part of the problem is there's a wide variety of choices, maybe too wide a variety. And as a result, L2 students may not understand the subtleties of the language. L2 students have their other criteria for choosing reporting verbs. So you can begin to see, hopefully, although I'm not explicitly stating it, where I'm going to go in this paper. So if they have trouble, there are too many varieties, maybe as a teacher I have to cut down on the number of varieties. And if they don't understand the subtleties of language, maybe I need a way of explaining to them what are the differences between reporting verbs. And maybe I need to show them what criteria people are using for reporting verbs. Now, the point being is that once you get to what I'm actually going to say, you're going to say, of course, that's what the research is going to do, because I tried here very hard to lay out the criteria that I'm going to use to judge whether my solution to the problem is in fact appropriate or not. So in the final section then, I want to show how I plan to fill the gap. So I say the goal of this research was therefore not to provide a complete overview of the use of reporting verbs, but to provide a theoretical and empirical basis for developing materials. So what I feel is, given the causes of the problem, I need to develop, as a teacher, a new set of materials that I could use for teaching reporting verbs. And then the goals of the paper is to first better understand the variety of ways academic writers use reporting verbs, and then I'm going to specifically develop a database of sentences using these reporting verbs that provides them samples that addresses specifically the problem of understanding their meaning, and that they could use for materials that could be accessed on a website. And on this website, I'm going to present the rest of the criteria for choosing. So in this way, I feel that I'm successfully addressing the problem. But the point here is that as a reader, you should say, of course, this is a valid way of addressing the problem, given first the importance of the problem, and second of all, the reasons or causes of the problem that this solution will address.